Good morning, everyone. It's now, this is shy after 10:30, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Uh, The first item on the agenda would be the approval of the agenda, and if there are any changes, please, now is the time to make that change.
I have one thing I'll mention. Innovative Kevin Hogan, CFO's flight was changed, so he won't be here till later. So I will cover the plan update in mind, and then I'm sure he'll be here for lunch or at the end of the meeting, so we'll have your stock.
So the next item on the agenda is approval of the April 22nd, 2026 regular board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the April 22nd meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Oh, wait, hang on. We have a board member online, which means we need to do a roll call vote.
What's my heart?
So I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Start with George,
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Dave.
Yeah.
Val.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Did we give it that going?
Yeah, so I could hear it. I don't know if it's
Okay.
up line.
Very, very quiet.
So those have been approved. Asleep. The next item is the treasury report.
Okay, so, first we have the financial statements, the budget, versus actual. And the profit and loss. Our Q2, 2026 financial positions are on track and aligned with our total budgeted revenue and expense projections. All financial statements appear to be in order, and there's a few items that I'll just call your attention to as we go through the list here. Current bills payable, we have an operating check run for $32,131.62. There are no unusual concerns. Everything remains within budget. We have a slightly higher payable than average because we paid our annual liability insurance premium as a lump sum payment. We also spent an additional $3,500 on our marketing campaign, which is being funded from the grant, and quarterly payments for legal and legislative advocacy are being paid. Are there any questions on the payables? If not, the board will need to vote to approve the payment.
We have a motion to approve payment of the payables.
I can make a motion to approve the payables as presented.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Roll call. Oh. I'll start with Dave.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Tony. Mike.
Yes.
We're gonna choose that though. So they have been approved.
I still have one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Remember, lunch isn't coming till 11:30.
Also we have presented our Q2 2026 portfolio performance. Year to date, we're up 1.28%, but on the quarter, we're at only up 0.9%. If you'll notice on the benchmark actually fell. So we are outperforming the benchmark, but I think it is reasonable for us to watch our investments carefully as we go. Mike, did you want to say something? Okay. I just tell you draw it closer. We also worked with First National in the last couple of weeks to transfer just over $1.5 million into WasteHub's wealth management account. And First National will invest these funds over the next 5 months. Any cash sitting idle while awaiting investment will earn 3%. And we have updated the target allocation for WasteHub's total portfolio to 45 to 55% equities, with the remaining 45 to 55% in fixed income cash. First National has placed the initial trades to begin building out the equity position and will continue making incremental purchases through mid-December to reduce the risk of buying into a market downturn. Since many of these transactions are just now taking place, we should see a significant change in the portfolio during Q3. As a side note, equities are down slightly today, which works in our favor when we're buying it. Yes.
So I wonder, it sounds like then that they're building a ladder of some kind. Is that what they mean by buying in and trying to spread it out or whatever you're trying to?
So they're buying into equities, which are not, oh, go ahead, George.
Okay, it's pretty.
You're gonna want to hit your,
Okay.
Mike, you got to turn it on.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
You're it.
It's harder when you're not in the box.
Yes, it is. Just, here in Fresh, you're familiar with dollar cost averaging, which is the idea that there's some level of volatility in stock prices. So instead of buying it at one point, you buy in periodically at a number of points over time. And that way, the normal ups and downs would average out, as opposed to the riskier idea of just buying in.
But it's different than a ladder, like a bond
Yeah,
ladder.
yeah, it doesn't have
So-
different maturities, but it's different buy-in points.
Yeah. So I think I missed what you said. So we're just talking about new money, is what you're talking about, as opposed to this money that's in this.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sitting here looking at this thinking, I doing two things at once and my brain doesn't process that. So I'm with you now. Thank you.
Any questions on the portfolio? Any others? The budget reconciliation, overall revenue targets are being met. There are a couple items worth noting. The management service fee, so this line is about 4.5% below the 50% halfway through the year mark, because the J minimum management fee is being included. That's not going to be paid until the end of the year. If J is not profitable at the end of the year, that fee will be booked as a receivable to be paid by J up once J Co becomes profitable. The MWS utilities and grounds maintenance reimbursement, this is just a pass through. When we wrote the budget last fall, we made an estimate. Mike made an estimate based upon past experience and best guess for the future. With the MRF now running for a couple of months, along with added MRF equipment, we're seeing a much larger increase than originally estimated. Again, since this is a pass through, we will readjust the figure in Q3 if needed. So there's a revenue matched exactly by an expense. And then with an interest income from the operations account, estimated this when we submitted the budget, it's off by about $200. A good chance that this will fall in line by the year end. Are there any questions on income? I do have one question that I want to ask Mike, but I will defer to others if they have one first.
So I do have a question about that receivable. You talked about the J. So if and when they become profitable, it's going to be retroactive.
Well, it's booked as a receivable, so it's still due. So it's still on our books as being something that's due, but it's not a payment that's being made. So it won't be cash, but it will be an asset.
But that means we're expecting future at some point.
Yes.
When they become profitable, they will pay us for that period of time. That's what we're
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
They can always
Just realize
call that. They can include it following year's minimum,
Okay.
and it's paid out profitable. That's how.
I just figured once they became profitable, we started getting it. So that's even better.
Mike, when I was looking at this, and we were seeing the big increase in the utilities, is that going to become an issue for MWS operationally to have a larger utility bill than anticipated? Or was the estimate maybe not quite accurate?
This was an estimate that I had done from watching our bills. And I spoke to Devin, and they had a little bit larger estimate than I did, but they have changed their model. Their model now shows between 400 to 500,000. So they always had a buffer elsewhere, so I just spoke to that. Coming in, and they're planning on something. Just for the power part of the burn.
Okay. With expenses, everything is, looking good here. We hit the halfway point. The software and equipment were a little bit over budget, due to the addition of staff. We brought Reagan on board. And so that means that we needed to buy a laptop. We have additional software licenses and a few other miscellaneous items to, make sure that we had Reagan well set up to get going immediately. In cleaning and maintenance, we had budgeted for new flooring to be installed in the waste hub office in Hamden. It came in well under budget because we could use contractors who were already there on site for MWS. And in Q3, we'll review this again and make an adjustment. We can use the funds elsewhere. Legislative advocacy. So this line is at 100%, but it's a shared annual fee. So we have been billed for 100%. And then on July 1st, we actually billed MWS for their share of the reimbursement. So there are no additional expenses expected for this line. And then in the insurance with general liability, we have also paid this in full and runs June to July. We estimated it a little bit higher because we had additional staff and the acquisition of Jayco. But after meeting with the provider, there was no significant change in the premium. Any questions on expenses? Okay. So all in all, Q2 is a strong quarter for WasteHub. Things are looking good on both the expense and revenue side. As we close out the first half of the fiscal year, we're meeting targets across the board and expenses are trending at just 42% of the budget. So this is a helpful position to be in at the moment. We talked about our flooring project coming in under budget. Our insurance premium has held steady. And our new outreach and education coordinator is up and running and doing very well. On the investment side, we have moved our $1.5 million into the wealth management account where those funds are now being put to work. And we'll see those in action in Q3. And with the expenses tracking exactly where we expect them to be, we will direct staff to purchase the $5,000 scholarship 6-month CD so that we'll have those funds available in the spring of 2027 with interest. We've not drawn from any reserves, nor have we used any of the miscellaneous or contingency funds. So we are sitting well to cruise through the latter half of the year. Hopefully this means that we will be able to make another considerable payment into the WasteHub wealth management account at year end. And we should finish in a strong position if things continue as expected.
For all of that, I'd like to now bring you to the executive director and committee reports.
Thank you, Paula. Let's start with our tonnage data. In Q2, our members generated 27,566 tons of municipal solid waste, an increase of 4,164 tons over the 23,402 tons we saw in Q2 of 2025. This increase is driven by the commercial waste now coming into the facility from our 4 waste flow communities, Bangor, Brewer, Hamden, and Orono, and reflects actual tonnages now rather than estimates. Headline for Q2 is, this was the quarter we've all been waiting for. MWS is back up and running. On April 30th, at around 10:30 a.m., the first loaded bucket of MSW went into the system and traveled down every belt and through every MRF process point for the first time since 2020. Shut down. Monkey is off our back. Critical question was whether the new equipment and configurations would perform as intended. The shredder, the new trommel, the EchoStar screen, and the magnet. All of them performed as planned, and frankly, better than we expected. The bags are opening completely, and most recycling streams are producing volumes greater than we projected. Operational by numbers. Current runtime is averaging just over 7 hours per day, a normal operation shift once you account for lunches and breaks and cleanup. System efficiency is holding between 80 and 90%, although just on Monday, I see a recorded runtime of 8 hours and 42 minutes, and the system efficiency was 99.88%. We are processing an average of 400 tons per day, with another 100 tons per day still to be recalled off a bypass from Crossroad. We are targeting removal of that bypass within the next few weeks.
Right, can you repeat that volume?
400 tons a day. It's also the summer waste, so. At a combined 500 tons per day, we're tracking towards approximately 125,000 to 130,000 tons annually. That reflects the addition of new communities and commercial MSW, which contributes roughly to 15,000 to 20,000 additional tons. We completed installation of 29 cameras in Q2, providing full coverage of the facility with a live 24/7 feed on a dedicated monitor in the WasteHub Orono office. A meaningful improvement to offsite oversight and security. Driving me crazy with that monitor. In June, WasteHub staff conducted the contractual performance test for innovative resource recovery and MWS. Part of the agreement, when WasteHub sold 90% of the shares of the MWS facility and operator must pass a performance test before declaring commercial operations. Key contracted terms were as follows. MWS obtained all required permits. MWS can accept monthly MSW volumes equal to the WasteHub delivery commitment. 102,513 tons divided by 12 equates to 8,543 tons of members' waste per month, which works out to roughly 400 member tons per operational day. MWS completed the test witnessed by WasteHub staff verifying process capacity and production of commercial sellable products within the limits of MWS reporting and operational plan. Results of the test are as follows. Actual process accepted waste was 1,248 tons. Actual MRF operation hours was 32 hours. Actual hourly processing capacity was 40 tons an hour. Minimum hourly processing capacity was 37 tons per hour. Results passed. Municipal Waste Solutions passed the test with no issues or concerns. I'm in the process of completing the official report of the passing results for our file. Processing of waste comes to making and sale of recycled commodities, and yields have been phenomenal. Tin and metal. We're filling 40-yard dumpsters of tin and metal approximately every 2 to 3 days, averaging 8 to 9 tons per pull. Cardboard known as OCC. We have sold 3 loads of recycled cardboard so far, brokered by MRRA. Plastic bales. Bale production has also been strong with significant bale product on hand. 1 load of PET and 1 load of number 5 plastic have been sold, and we are currently in the midst of closing a deal on a load of number 2 plastic. All these loads are running a ballpark of 40,000 to 44,000 pounds per load. So far, we've had no trouble moving bale commodities, and we are working with 4 different groups to acquire pricing and to move products. The fine stream yields have also been stronger than predicted. This material is from the EchoStar screening process and is ultimately designed was designed for the anaerobic digester feed once the anaerobic digestion is complete. But in the interim, it is being sent to Crossroads where it is being blended and used as daily cover. Regulatory and permanent highlights. May 22nd, DEP toured the MWS facility, a huge success. Commissioner Melanie Loisum, Division Director Carl Hawkins, and the full core group of DEP directors and management and environmental specialists toured the facility during live operations. Commissioner's first time seeing the project operate in person. Everything ran perfectly, and the group stayed at least an hour afterwards and spoke with staff. They were thrilled to see the facility at full capacity, making bales and pulling metal. CP manufacturers sent a representative from California to walk the group through the system and explain how it works. We completed our annual Bangor Water Quality Management wastewater discharge permit inspection and passed with flying colors. No issues or concerns whatsoever. WasteHub JCO permit signed and issued. The J site is now fully permitted under WasteHub to accept third-party C&D. Our partner has been building the road to get to the active cell, and we have signed our first project for C&D disposal. A local home in J is slated for demolition. I've begun the process of securing C&D disposal contracts and have notified the J town manager of the newly issued permit. Business development also been quite active in Q2. We're currently working with a number of commercial customers and municipalities outside of the WasteHub membership on their disposal needs. As I mentioned earlier, we also plan to recall all the WasteHub waste still bypass Crossroads in Q3, and we have a very active pipeline of prospects looking to dispose of their waste with the MWS and reap the benefits of the recycling yields we are doing. Since running again, we've hosted a steady stream of high-value visitors, including waste management, seller representatives, city officials, transfer station operators, and public works directors, all engaged and very impressed. CP manufacturer who supplied the material recovery equipment known as MERT has been extremely impressed with the additions Innovative has made, specifically the shredders and the EchoStar screening system. They've offered to work with WasteHub through their marketing department on education material explaining the system, and they're interested in the design and in MSW as one of their showcase facilities. I believe innovations modifications will influence further MERP designs that CP does. They've already provided us with a detailed drawing of the system and how everything works. This is a big one, very expensive. Education and community outreach. Also in Q2, we added our education and outreach coordinator, Reagan, who you will be hearing from shortly. Reagan started May 4th and has been an excellent addition to the team. She spent time working the sorting line to learn the MERP firsthand, develop education materials for handout to members explaining the restart, and jumped right into managing the scholarship program. In May, 5 $2,000 scholarships from MWS and WasteHub were awarded. We presented branded check to each recipient at their respective schools, with 1 or 2 WasteHub board members attending each presentation. All checks have since been mailed to the secondary education schools on behalf of the awarded applicants. A press release went out in June announcing the MWS is back up and operating. Board members, staff, and guests enjoyed an evening at Penobscot Theater Company for the Garbologist a generally meaningful performance reflecting our industry and our team. In closing and looking ahead to Q3. Q2 was a quarter we've got the facility back on its feet. Q3 is a quarter where we'll hit full stride. Here's what's on the horizon. Recall the bypass. Our top operational priority is to bring the remaining 100 tons back into the facility from Crossroads, putting us at a full 500 to 600 tons per day and keeping us on track at 125,000 to 135,000 tons to an annual pace. Declare commercial operations. With the performance test passed, I'll finalize the official report for the file, closing another contractual obligation. Keep moving product. We'll close the number 2 plastic deal, continue building relationship with the 4 groups we're working with on pricing, and keep the plastics, metal, and cardboard flowing out the door. Grow the pipeline. We'll continue converting the active pipeline of commercial customers and municipalities looking to dispose their MSW and MWS and reap all the benefits of the recycling yields. Put J to work with WasteHub and the J-Code permit in hand and our first demolition project signed. I'll be focused on securing additional C&D disposal contracts for the J site. Tell our story. We'll work with CP Manufacturing on education and marketing materials and continue building towards Camden's MWS as a designated showcase facility. Reagan will visit schools and attend events, reaching out to educators, organization leaders, and community members to share who we are and what we are doing. 6 years ago, this facility went dark. Today it is passing its test, making sellable products, and impressing everyone who walks through the door, from the DEP commissioner to our industry peers. That credit is to the innovative team, this board, our staff, and the hardworking folks at MWS. Monkey is off our bar, and now it's time for us to build.
Oh.
Campaign or something.
Any questions?
Who's judging charge? Well, first, I just want to make note of the fact that passing that performance test is a huge milestone. I mean, huge. We've been working towards this since before 2018, and the PERC contract ended when we had vision of a new facility in Camden, and to complete that step, have it be successful, and be working on the future now as an operating facility, it's just, just can't even tell you how happy I am to get that. And thank you so much, Mike, because you've made it happen. You really, I mean, it's been a team effort, but you've led the way and really juggles 1,000 things to make it happen. So thank you so much for that. Like, quite an accomplishment. And I wanted to ask a couple things. One is like an operational technical thing. Like, at what point will they have to start adding a shift to deal with more volume of waste, as you're talking about bringing in more, perhaps new communities or new waste streams?
I think we're very close there now.
Already?
My belief is we probably would have recalled. This is totally my estimate of seeing things, and I'm sure the waste flow communities have seen it. We probably would have recalled that waste from down at Crossroads already. Now that we kind of pushed the waste flow community commercial waste in, I think there's a lot more than we've been estimating since the last time it was documented in 2017. So I think we're very close there. After we hit the 500 or 600 tons, we're going to be one second shift. Right now, we're talking about going a half day on Saturday, and we're talking about loading, like residuals and the fines and stuff like that, bringing a second crew in loading right now, because we have so many trailers, we can preload trailers. I think those will be the first steps, but I don't think we're too far out second shift. We have a great maintenance crew and we have a great, we have great staff all the way around. It's not easy finding people to work all the time. So that is one thing that we're
And I also wondered, if there's been a material change in volumes as a result of, PERC or Epic not taking trash since their fire.
yeah.
That's it, yes.
There's been a lot of commercial haulers, are bringing, seems like they're bringing a lot more commercial waste to us, which is MSW, which just seems to be, when you have 5 front load trucks at your facility all at one time, that's something, being 30 years in waste, that is something you don't see very often, all at your facility at the same time.
We have like a wait time.
I don't think it's too bad. I mean, I do see 2 or 3 trucks lined up, but I hear that the word from the scale house and everybody else is that our wait times aren't as bad as other wait times in other places. And so, nobody's called me yet. So usually I'm in that line of fire. So I have got one report on knock on wood on tire issues, which usually I'm one of the first calls for if they get nails in their tires. Calls on wait time.
And then the last question I had was, you mentioned that we sent out a press release when the plant was up and running or started or something like that. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure I saw anything about that in the press, so I'm hoping that we have some other push, because I mean, we have so much stuff to talk about. I mean, the plant is actually running, it passed the performance test, we've got great recyclable volumes, you're selling the,
Plan is to do a press conference. We haven't had a complete day. The plan is to do a press conference in August. I want to be, we're still, I hate using the word ramp up. We're still working some bugs out. I mean, nothing like we were in May, but we're still working some bugs out. And I want all the waste coming to us, and I'd like to have CP on site. And that drawing I spoke of, our team's actually working on making it interactive. So when you hover over like a piece of equipment, it'll tell you exactly what it does and everything else. So we're trying to complete that and we'll do a press conference. I believe sometime in August, we don't have a.
that's great. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun by any stretch, but I'm glad to hear that that's so big.
And that will be at.
Really.
I may be jumping the gun here since we're still working the bugs out and we don't have the digester up and running, but what kind of recovery rates are we seeing so far? Mostly I'm curious because I'm at a commercial site in Brewer and we have no recycling, so I'd really love to hear that my corrugated cardboard is getting pulled out of the stream.
So. That metal in tin is what? It's last number I heard, it was 6 or 8% more predicted. And that's all get caught on magnet. Recovery rates. So the best way to explain, I don't have exact numbers for you because it's just, everything's just starting out. We're sitting on a lot of material that we have to still sell when we start moving out the door. Somebody asked me this question the other day, and one thing I wanted to explain to them is when you live in a community and you do recycling in blue bin, you're relying on people that want to recycle to do that, which is fine. Because our motto is, whatever makes you feel better, if it's all going to the same place, everything's going to happen. One way to look at this, though, is your community's being serviced at our processing facility. Everybody's recycling. It's no longer the one who choose to do it because it's all going to the same system. Our yields are very high. One thing that's really high is going to be the digester, but we have to. We tried to bring it in and bail it, and the quality is just not good. Is 15% of our waste, 15% of what we do, which is going to digester feed. We tried bailing it; it's just so nasty and dirty. And so I don't have exact numbers or percentage for you, but I know the yields are a lot. We're having trouble the baler keeping up with everything coming out. So this is where all the second shift that's going to be. And also trading and people. be consistent.
But along those lines, eventually, once everything's running, are you gonna have like, I think,
We have a meter on our website, that's where you go. So we're gonna show tons in,
yeah,
recycled tons.
yeah, that's it.
We have.
Cause like there was some early estimate, it was gonna be like 8 to 12% was gonna get pulled out sort of in the MERV front end process. And then, like each step, there's a little bit more coming out and.
So the rough numbers, these are rough. The rough numbers are, you're seeing 8 to 12% in commodities. That's all your plastic, cardboard and all that. You're seeing probably another 6 to 8% in metal and tin. Fines are high 20s, low 30s, and the gas is gonna be in the same area. So remember though, our fines are a lot higher right now. But those fines will go into the digester and make gas, and a lot of that heavy material, like the organics, that will all turn into the gas, and then what will come out of the digester is your glass and grit, and that will now be your ABC cover. So so the fines are, and we're getting. They're allowing, as our fine goes 87, we're getting credit for that. But that's gonna change a lot once the digesters get up and going next year. That material is really heavy right now, so that's probably in the high 30s. I expect that number to go way down once we pull over organics and paper product that be digested. It's too early to give you a great number because we gotta sell everything through the process. Another thing is that's important. I just don't want to jinx it. This is the first loads going to mills, and so far nobody's rejected it. Said, it smells too bad or it's too dirty, which is good. So we've had 3 loads of cardboard, and I think out of all the different types of plastics, we're on our 3rd load of plastic. So we haven't any kickbacks yet, so that's important too. Sure that.
Good news. Thank you.
I guess we can continue on. Thank you for all of that, Mike. The next item is the asset management report. That's the account 50 and operating budget stabilization funds, cash collateral account, reserve fund update. So I'd like to turn everything over to our consultant, George Aronson. Thank you for making the trip up here to see us in person. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul. I'll keep it short, but also it's an opportunity to ask questions when I can actually, see you and answer them directly. I mean, as you know, on a quarterly basis, we take a snapshot of the assets, liabilities, and changes in assets in that position. The end of each quarter tied into the bank statements and cases. So we move through the year. It's all posted on the website, so it's transparent to the membership as to what's going on with the joint venture involved towns, and then it becomes the basis at the end of the year for the review performed by the CPAs. I think it's gotten easier over the last few years now that tip fees and disposal costs and processing costs are handled through MWS. So this is looking mainly at the assets and liabilities of the joint venture. There are, Mike mentioned there are going to be some changes. A lot of changes were made after July 1st, but the quarter ended June 30th. So this is the snapshot before the investment in equities that Val mentioned previously. The next quarter, we'll see what the first quarter of those estimates look like, but I have nothing to say about that yet. So if you look through it again, the net position at this point is about $9.5 million. It's detailed in table 1, which shows various treasury accounts. About $5 million provided to the Hamlin site, and then there's a contingent payment receivable from Innovative and the value of equity in MWS LLC. Those are external numbers that can change from quarter to quarter depending on the number of events. Innovative's financials themselves are not public, but the public ownership number based on the 10% ownership of WasteHub in MWS will be provided to us from their reviews and the reviews. So there will always be a little bit of a lag in these records as to when we got the most recent letter and information versus the current. It's going to be reconciled at the end of the year when the accountants do their review. So at least we have a basis approximately where we are going forward. So I think that's the quick summary of what the letter is, what it does. I think the other thing we do in here is that if there's a change or a deposit or a movement between to or from an external account, there's a disclosure as to what that is. So I think it's the numbers, disclosures, so we understand the context for them, and then providing a basis so that when the end of the year comes, the accountants can do their review based on information that's been accumulated over the year, as opposed to starting from scratch with the big pile of data and things like that. And we maintain transparency for the communities to look at the results from quarter. Again, there's nothing special financially on the joint venture side. This quarter, as I mentioned, there were no transfers in or out during the quarter. At the time, the net position 9.5, and the earnings of about $21,000 in second quarter on various accounts. Again, because the investments are going to be including equities going forward, it's a little bit more of an aggressive position. We expect to see a little bit more earnings on the investments going forward. We have to wait until next quarter to see how that starts to turn out. So we'll keep an eye on the numbers and just keep up the baseline for future quarters. Happy to take questions on anything. I interpret that as that our attempts at transparency are reasonably effective.
Well, George, I appreciate your letter every time, and I just love how it's sort of morphed and evolved over time, and it's gotten tightened up, and it now reflects this positive future, and it's simpler in a sense, and it's just, I really appreciate everything that you do to help us keep us on track and keep that transparency going. So, anyway.
Yeah, it does. So there's when Michael and I have been working because I think we're going to transfer some of what I've been doing to Barb going forward. So we're going to have basically a template generic asset management letter.
Cloning you, George, huh?
Well,
George 2.0, so you could retire a little bit.
Something like that. But I promised Michael I'm always at the other end of the phone or the email. So, if something comes up, I'm available to help out.
What did you say earlier? 38 years? It's been
November 1989 was my first trip up here. That's 11 and 26, 37, going on 38. Been a lot of change in that time. And let me tell you, as someone who walked through the operating facility with Edgar this morning, and I got to say, oh, how did you fix the problem that was right over there? And he could tell me what they had changed. And it was quite impressive experience to see the changes, how well everything is laid out. Some long time design issues that have been fixed, bringing the residual to where the doors are. There are original doors, things that look simple, but are actually, we all know it's a lot harder to untangle knots than it is to tie. They've done a good job, and hope that they keep up good work and keep advancing it and expanding their capability.
One more question. So where are we on our financial review? Do we have a timetable for that now? So we haven't done 25 yet, have we?
Oh, and I will give that to Donald, which is on my agenda. I usually get that to Donald right around now. As I get with our taxes, we don't file our taxes now until November. We always get an extension because the material from right. So, and George has it all done and ready to go with the hopes Donald will have it for us at the October meeting. I'm trying to make that so it happens in October, and I
So that's going to be the schedule, in perpetuity. That's the plan.
Yeah, I mean, as we've learned, don't bother the account before April 15th.
Yeah.
And then they all go on vacation. And then they have the extension. So when that's done, they're ready for us. And it works out pretty well that after second quarter, that we can go back.
I'll give Donald the 2-month window. Hopefully that's the contract sufficient. I was all ready. I thought you were gonna ask about $1 million. We actually tried to record.
Oh, really? You can talk about it if you want.
No, it's all still there.
Okay. Continuing on, the innovative second quarter report, facility report would be, presented by Kevin, but since he is delayed.
Well,
So
I incorporated that into my report. And hopefully have to be here after a bit to take care of.
That's a little interesting.
So the next item on the agenda is to welcome and introduce Municipal WasteHub's education and outreach coordinator, Regan Emmerling, to join us.
Hi, everybody. Can we get you to sit with with the, and turn on the mic, use Mike's mic?
Yeah, hello.
Better. I was going to smell the end there and have a question. No, he didn't. I hope you don't mind that I look at my paper a little bit. I sort of little thing to say, but I hope you don't mind my glancing. But hi everybody, thank you so much. Today marks my official first quarter with Municipal WasteHub. It's just been such a wonderful quarter, and I'm just here to give a little bit of an update on how I've spent my time and what I've been able to accomplish in that first quarter. Before I jump into that, I want to say a very short thank you. Before I was our outreach and education coordinator, I was just a resident. I was an everyday person who had no idea, very minimal idea of what was happening to our garbage. And setting aside what I knew about it and when, it really doesn't change the fact that the whole time you've been here serving in the best interest of your community, your state, your family, fine. So thank you. It makes environmental stewards, makes you pioneers in the main space. And I just wanted to say thank you. I'm sure that it was not always easy to sit here and push for this, when the idea that someone would sit in front of you and say the plant was operational and exceeding expectations is crazy. So thank you. And I'll just jump into things. This is what I've been doing to really honor that investment of all that went into hiring me, all those things. So thank you. Here we go. So first and foremost, getting to do my job well, it meant a lot of studying weights. On my desk sits a learn list and the topics that are added and crossed off that have ranged from PFAS contamination in the soil to extended producer responsibility, the history of optical filters, and the environmental policy that really defines our state. I learned more about garbage composition the past quarter than most people will in a lifetime. Since starting, I've read books on the illegal garbage trade, recycling best practices. I've taken 2 courses now on solid waste management, and I have scoured the most obscure corners of the DEP website. Plus learning has been really instrumental in the brochures, the flyers, the social media content, website resources that I've already developed, but it's also been the foundation of building a sustainable waste education campaign for us. But when you work with waste, it's not enough to just read about waste. To do my job effectively, one of the most important things I've done during the first quarter was spending time on the floor at the plant learning about the work being done. I've been told on multiple occasions through tours, through conversations with my family, my friends, employees at the plant, and even board members, just how important it is that I've spent real time at the plant. It really brings everything to life that I'm doing. I got to see why certain materials were being missed by our machines or were considered not recyclable. From there, I really started to understand what we can do from a residential perspective to minimize the chances of repetition or to discourage these items altogether from the waste stream. I had the chance to learn from our recycling tech what things they noticed, what is common to them, what isn't. I got to learn about what kind of materials are hazards in the waste stream and cause downtime, cords, lithium batteries, propane tanks, and shoveling garbage while you're waiting for a machine to go back online after a jam. It really just gives you a lot of time to think about what you might do to, encourage or change specific habits when it comes to waste. I learned how each machine functions, what it does from a mechanical perspective, but also what I really need to say to get people to understand what's happening. It's one thing to throw the terms that I've learned reading blogs, reading manuals for the machines that people, but it's entirely another to break it down in a way that they understand hopefully that'll make them care and understand what's happening here. That's been a really big part of this first quarter. Am I being able to do that has everything to do with how hard I've been spending, how hard I've spent studying. Learning's a big part of my job, obviously, and my familiarity with the plant, with the processes, and with the waste that's everything to do with that. But more recently, I've been able to put that knowledge to work in educating the public directly, which is really exciting. I had the chance to do my first tour the week before that, and so very excited there. But I spent weeks this quarter off and on, drafting my script, fine tuning it, and painstakingly putting it to memory, learning everything that went into that. I expect to improve every week, but I've reached a point of that. Municipal tours seem to have found a really solid footing. We've been really lucky to bring in members that are old and new into the facility already. But once tours for the public actually start, I'm excited about what I'll be able to do with the information gained from repeat questions that I have, repeated points of confusion or just curiosity and how that translates to marketing efforts. I'm looking forward to what I'll have to say on next quarter as more and more people are coming into our facility as we have our press tour, but our open house to the public and things like that. So I'm excited about that. For now, though, I'll say that I'm very proud of the plan. I'm very thankful for the incredible team at Municipal Waste Solutions for the time they took out their day to walk me around, explain things to me, and help educate me. And for all that it's already done too. My newfound expertise on the plant and the processes of it have been a really strong asset when it comes to material creation. So far this quarter, I touched a little bit on this earlier, but when it comes to developing content or copy for the newsletter, for example, packets for the events that might go on to, flyers explaining recycling rules for various towns, it's always easier to know than to not. But even when I don't know, every resource that I make, every brochure, every flyer are really a great chance to learn. So that's been really exciting. But when it comes to developing resources and what I've done this quarter, I've made resource pages for the website, help develop what we already have. I've taken lots of social media images and videos that have been shared with the design lab team and posted already. And I just the next mile there. With the website specifically, I've updated over a dozen broken links that provide access to important deeds and main big resources. And while doing so, while I'm on those websites, I'm always, going down a lot, rabbit holes on wastewater disposal, circular economy initiatives that I love, and disposal practices for our member and great. The next quarter, I had a lot of hopes to put this information to use in writing articles targeting specific waste education questions. So I'm hoping that doing this will help facilitate resident education by providing easily accessible information and answers to commonly asked specific questions. So where do you take tires for disposal in Bangor, things like that, that people are Googling. Ideally, we could have an article that addresses that. But doing so will not only help facilitate that resident education, but I'm also hoping that the search engine optimization that comes with that will help us achieve even more exposure. That's one of the major municipal quality. Likewise, in collaboration with the Design Lab, I have made lots of social media posts, posters, bookmarks, magnets, other physical items that make this information really accessible to residents. So magnets that say, don't go to your household trash, or other social media posts saying what you do with lithium batteries and other very targeted waste questions. In addition to do so, I've been taking lots of photographs and videos of the plant, and this has been really huge in our social media efforts so far, and to share with interested members as they come into the plant for pictures. But moving forward, I'm hoping to use this content to make videos to explain operations that I can show at schools, libraries, and that's on the agenda for this one. Contact some local libraries and see about getting in, giving a presentation or two. So I'm excited about that. But you can expect a lot more in the time to come. You can expect that I'll be building up our resource bank, continuing to make items that help our residents and make that more convenient for waste disposal. And with side projects that I'm looking to grant opportunities that we can pursue, waste jeopardy to use in more like library or school setting, and just general municipal list building. So help when we send things out to schools, for example, having lists that are up to date. We're on wrap up. I think we've got a little bit now. It's one of my biggest tasks this quarter was the scholarship program. I got here at our last meeting and I gave you my full confidence about my ability to carry that through. So happy to say that I delivered. There's some small logistics that I will definitely carry out differently next year, just knowing, how it went, little things that I'd change. But I'm very proud that after reading each application and developing a rubric for clear assessment points, working with schools, the board members, and the students, that was a big part there. We were able to award not only some really deserving students with scholarships, but we were also able to a lot of that's pretty exciting. And solid foundation for that moving forward. In a future quarterly meeting, I'm hoping I'm standing here in front of you talking about the resources that we're going to make to help students submit the strongest application possible. So I hope you make, a video thing. This is what we're looking for, and give some tips that way. But also I hope that we're able to take different efforts to make sure that we're getting out to, schools more effectively. We can reach even more Maine students. Maybe get more funding. All goes plan, actually. But for now, I'm just so thankful for everything that you all put into that. Thank you again for being so kind and supportive, and thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions about anything else I've done. This has been kind of like bird's eye view. I feel like there's so much that got left out here. So, any questions?
She didn't take 2 or 3 breaths. I could hear.
Like a little shade, like,
I feel like we got a little version of Mike, education and outreach person. You got so much done. It's like that's yeah. But I did want to welcome you officially.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you here, and I did not have a chance to preview this with you and Mike, but I would like to just throw out there for everybody who might be on the communications committee, but I would love for us to convene a few times now that we have a resource that can actually work on stuff.
I love that.
Help just like bounce ideas and things like that. So that we can just, like enjoy all the things that you're working on that we've been wanting to do, or that I've been wanting to have done for years. I just love that you're, thinking about how to translate all this stuff into like regular speak. I mean, it's going to be like solid gold. So
Thank you so much.
I can't wait for more of that.
My family feels differently. I've been listening to me talk about trash on many occasions.
I also want to thank you for everything you've done so far, and I would like to make contact with you at some point with regard to our quarterly newsletter here. I think it's a good idea to always remind the residents occasionally on what is acceptable, not acceptable, what happens when things like cords and that type of material goes through. So I'll reach out to you at some point. So, comments or?
I will say I was just speaking to a Brewer resident as we were out on the street doing a demonstration project for street safety, and it happened to be MSW pickup day. And he said, I like this new collector so much better because they don't go through and pick out things and leave those behind. And I'm like, no, that's like, we want you to not put the bad things in. So definitely, I think that this is going to be, and he was just stunned when I was like, that's bad. He's like, oh, I just like it to just go away. And I'm like, it's not a magic wand. Just because it leaves your street does not mean that it evaporates and is no longer an issue. So I think that the more you're able to do to educate people about what they can put in their trash, and when you throw your lithium batteries in your regular trash pickup, bad things can happen.
Right.
So, I just think that this is a great step forward. And like Karen, I also have had wish lists of things that we could do. And it's great to have somebody with a lot of energy to carry it out, because I don't have that much anymore.
Rocking business card too. I'm happy with that. But thank you. So honored. So thank you.
Okay, so moving on, my table, he specifically got some ideas on dates and times for the annual meeting in December.
Starts time to think about Christmas.
So, due to guest speakers and stuff, I try to get a time to commit. I did ask the commissioner would speak this meeting, and she said she'd be happy to. And her calendar was fairly open. So I was hoping that 2 things. Belle had mentioned something to last year. I'd like to commit to a date, and I want to see if everybody wants to continue the same format. So, that's what I'm thinking to do. Pull up calendar.
By format, you mean like presentation, meeting, and then move to social, or what's the format question? Or what's the alternative?
So I don't necessarily have an alternative in mind, but I do feel like we spend a fair bit of money and get very moderate social participation. And is there a different way that we can do it? I don't know that answer per se. But it's a lot of effort, a lot of coordination goes into it. And ROI on it, I feel like is,
So I agree. I just want to include, because I'm fine either way. I can bring next to my office. It's really easy unless we go somewhere different. I will say, we always have somewhere between, we'll say 30 and 40 that RSVP. In the last 3 years, the weather been what, because of the time frame. It's just, we've had, every time we do the meeting, it's snow. And it always seems to snow, it's fine for the day, and it always seems to snow just when our meeting starts, or it's gonna snow. Last 3 years, we've dealt with either snow or 1 year it was, rain and freezing down, yeah. So, just keep that in mind. And, it's not anything that so a couple options you have is we can look at the dates. And it's not anything you have to commit to today. The communications committee can we can plan a meeting and put that on communications committee agenda or something everybody can think about, or you can have a general conversation today. I would just like to get to the date part, and whatever you decide, if you want to make that decision, if you want to change the format, stay, we'll do that. We always have that on.
do our bylaws specifically say December, or do they say to be called by the chair at a time and place?
I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it does specify a timing to send.
I would not be opposed to changing the bylaws to allow us to have our annual meeting, something more like
On the deck,
October.
waterfront.
I mean, I'd love it to be in July perhaps, but, something where we're less likely to run into adverse winter weather if we want people to come and meet with us and spend time with us and talk to us, et cetera, because I do feel like December it's a busy time for people. And the weather can be sketchy and, 3 flakes and suddenly maybe I don't want to go attend that meeting that I said that I would go to.
I propose giving this to the communications committee to chew over. And we can make a recommendation or suggestion. We can have in between. We don't have to wait till obviously the next meeting.
Yeah, I would say that this year we probably need to do December because being able to change our bylaws will be a process. So I would expect we'd have to do it December this year. So maybe we choose the date, but then communications committee talks about how we do it.
Yeah.
And then talk about maybe changing our bylaws and what we think the best time might be.
So what I would put on the table is what I suggest is we're pretty good about being on Wednesday, but the annual meeting doesn't matter. The dates I kind of went over with the commissioner would be the 9th, 10th, or 16th or 17th. So.
Works for me. Can't do the 16th. Earlier in the month is probably better than later in the month.
Shop.
Hard schedule, so.
We could look, the only reason I I mean, you could, I don't remember if I asked or not, if you wanted to do 2 dates, you could look at the second and third, I just don't know if that's too, that many October.
That second week of December, maybe on it.
I have no restrictions on any of the dates.
The night is the Wednesday.
So is everybody available on the 10th also? Why don't we commit, if it's okay, to the 9th, and tentatively put the 10th? And that gives me the option when I'm asking speakers and stuff to at least put 2 out there. But I'll try to wrap this up, in the next few weeks, but if we could tentatively put those into our calendars, that would be great.
And for the board members that aren't here,
Oh, you-
if we could email them that.
Then on the communications committee that we spoke about, we'll have that on that agenda. Thank you.
So I guess, the next item is just, reporting out that the next quarterly board meeting will be October 28th. Public comment, if there are any.
So if there's any public comments, usually what we do is they type their comment. Well, let us know if there's any.
Will individual member towns be notified when their waste will be scheduled to go to the processing facility?
If you need to take not bypass the crossroads, yes, we will send a letter that eliminates the bypass, if that's where we see Bill's, and see his last name is don't one of the.
Bill Bloomstein? Should I type it back to him, or do you think it's good?
I know what community that he's with. 80% of communities are already going to the
Yes.
plant, so maybe he's one of those.
That's the only question. That's.
So you have an executive session. David has to be here at 12:30. So do you want to start lunch, or do you want to go right into your executive session? That's the only decision. Go right into your executive session now.
I would like to start lunch and then do executive session at the same time.
And those of us that aren't at the executive session, use the room next door to have our lunch.
Oh, of course, yes. Don't know, if there's chairs in there, but
There is. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So you gotta.
I just need to have a motion to, enter into an executive session.
I make a motion that we move into executive session for 1 MRS section 4056A to conduct the executive director's annual performance review.
Second,
Second, I don't see anyone online, but
So with nobody online, we can do it all in favor.
all in favor? We'll go into executive session.
No, we did that.
Unmuted.
Yeah, I just noted the time.
So we are out of executive session and we did do the evaluation for Mike Carroll. Make a motion to accept the terms.
so I would make a motion that, we promote Michael Carroll to the Municipal WasteHub Chief Executive Officer. So we'd be providing him a new title. And along with that, and maybe we should mention that he has just completed a 3-year contract cycle. So we were discussing what the potential terms might be for the new follow-on contract. So the new follow-on contract would be another 3-year agreement, but it would also contain 2 automatic consecutive 3-year renewals, assuming that he, is graded at least satisfactorily in whatever performance evaluation. Would be a salary of $160,000 per year, which represents a $5,000 increase over last year's salary. That's about 3% increase. And that subsequent years, the minimum annual increase would be 5% or the CPI, whichever is greater, to be effective July 1st upon the completion of each satisfactory annual review. On the vacation side, with each year of the contract being completed, he would get 1 additional vacation day added to his allowance of his full vacation time during the term of the contract. And with regard to his vehicle allowance, in years 3 and 6 of the agreement, that in addition to the annual salary increase, his vehicle allowance would receive a 5% increase. That is my motion.
Is there a second?
If I may just amend it slightly before it gets seconded. And all of these are retroactive to July 1st, which was consistent with his contract.
So have a motion and a second. Going online. There I go. All in favor?
Thanks for your great work.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Now that Kevin is here, do we want to? Sorry, I don't want it to sound the way that came out. Sounds like wrong time traveling.
Yeah, I had a couple flights canceled. I apologize, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Better late than never, right?
Right.
And I've given them a really fairly detailed on everything going on currently. Maybe you could just talk about where you are in the MERP and next steps, but operation wise and everything else, and then you guys from my thought.
Sure.
How you feel, where we're at with things. I mean, I've gone over all the commodities, sold, volumes coming in and everything else, but so where, how do you feel things going with the MERP and where do we go from here?
Sure. I think we're pretty excited about where we are from a progress standpoint. Unfortunately, facilities are not like an electricity plant where you flip the switch and they just run and you're good to go. But we're ramping up. I think we've hit 8 hours of runtime. We actually hit 9 hours of runtime one day over the last couple of weeks, which is actually ahead of schedule. We're now ramping up kind of the tons per hour that we run through, making sure the system can handle that. Working on increasing the amount of recyclables that we're covering out of the stream. And that's a combination of optimizing the opticals and training people. We're also looking at some alternative technologies like robots to help us actually pull more recyclables out of the stream and help us audit the system as well. So I think we're excited about that. It's going to take a few more months to get where we want to be. That's okay. Knock on wood. Everything seems to seem like we're still going to get where we expected to. And in terms of next steps, we're still very focused on all of those things. And then we've also started bringing those professionals back around the anaerobic digester to test fines now that we have the actual real fines to make sure that that's there. Engineering folks that we brought back in to kind of bring it from where it was and the real world data, both on the waste composition of what we see and fines testing will help us refine that design to a final number, or not final number, kind of a final design. And then it's, running and gunning. It's a big project, so it's going to take some work to do it. But we've kind of told you guys, fortunately, it's taking longer than we want. We really want to do this in a way that we only do it once, because if we do it wrong, we're going to be back where we started. And so that real world data is going to help us build a system that will help. And outside of that, we are continuing to have discussions with folks on all the other conversion technologies. There's nothing I would say is imminent right now, but some solutions around film. We have had a lot of discussions there. That's obviously a big issue. Or not a big issue, but a big piece of the stream that we just don't have a solution for right now. We talked about it a while ago, one group, and we are continuing conversations with them. They kind of wanted to see the plant running and what it produces as well. So we'll start those back up. And you know, there are lots of other, I'll call it niche type things that we're looking at that would increase diversion, but nothing that's, I'll call it, far enough to talk about. The goal is to just keep on, you know, moving in the right direction. You know, we'd love to divert 100%. I don't know what to get there, but we're trying to do it however we can, in a way that makes sense. That's, you know, that's really it. Given
One question that was asked that I felt I knew the answer, but I want you to you know, pipe in. Is I was asked when we'd be looking at a second shift, and I said, right now, once you recall the crossroads waste, we're at 500 or 600. I think that number there might create us to go a half a day on Saturday, possibly, and we might bring in a crew that works into the evening a little bit to just load, you know, our fines and our residual and that type of thing, because we have so many trailers available. But I don't think that's quite. I think that would be the next stage before we go full blown second shift.
I think that, no, that's right. And actually, Edgar and I have been having discussions about second shifts over the last couple of weeks, just to your point, given the amount of waste we have coming in. And I think the answer is very, I'm not going to say likely, but there's a real possibility that it happens in the next few months. The two things that we need to do are, as I mentioned, these facilities take a little bit of time to get them where you want. We need to make sure the first shift is running how we want it to, because the last thing we want to do is have a first shift that is having issues. And like I said, the things that are right now are just training. There's nothing that we're concerned about, but it's not where we want it to be from a run rate perspective. And so you don't want to add a second shift and complicate things when the first shift isn't where you want it to be. And so, you know, actually part of my trip is to have a discussion with Edgar about that timing, what it looks like. But it would not shock me if we're either running a half day Saturday or second shift within in August. So that's, you know, that's kind of me too. But we're certainly, that's part of the plan. Because we plan to take on all the waste, obviously, that we have and hope to bring in more. So.
I want to say, hearing you say that you dream of 100% diversion is like music to my ears. But I did want to ask about the anaerobic digester and the design. Do you envision that design possibly happening this calendar year, or is that more like a 2027 type?
I mean, look, we're pushing as quickly as we can, so I would love to say that it could be done this year, and that's certainly the goal. As you guys know, getting the work going took us a little bit longer than we wanted, and it's kind of a little bit of a domino effect. And we've been so focused on that I'm not going to say we haven't thought about the anaerobic digester, but it has been not as much to the forefront as. When we started it, planned on doing it all at once, and then kind of realized what we're about to bite off. So the short answer is that certainly the goal would be to have the design finalized by the end of this year. But
Well, we just set our December meeting date for the annual meeting.
Okay, all right, you can ask me again.
There's your goal.
The last thing, because I don't know if I explained it well. At the end of the day, with how we're gonna run, I was asked, what are our recycling percentages? And I said that the commodities are 8 to 12%. Metal and tin is 6 to 8%. That we're pulling in the dumpsters, or is that part of the commodities?
That's part.
Okay.
So I would say all in recyclable commodities, we are hoping to get up to call it 12+%, well, maybe 15%. And some of that is we're working on, the big mover there is we're working on the quality of the fiber, candidly. Piece of that, we think we can get that to 5+%, but we're kind of working to get there right now. And so but that includes ferrous and the plastics. And then obviously we have the ADC as well. Basically moves you from whatever that is times 2 is kind of the, so.
So I put a high number on the ADC, mid to high 30s, but because that's fines right now, but then it's gonna be like, both are gonna be somewhere in the 20s once it's digested, because we'll be making gas and then the remaining plastic right going to ADC cover. That.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I think that's probably a fair.
So if there's nothing else, I guess I will give you a motion to
I
adjourn.
want to see if there's any online comments.
What's a- One attendee left.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Oh, whoa. Would you not behave? Maybe.
You would